Hi, I'm Jill. I'm married to Dan. I have 2 adult kids, Joseph, who's 25, and Aaron, who's 21.
I love looking at the stars. It's not like I know a lot about astronomy or astrophysics, but I appreciate thinking about the bigness of the solar system. When I look at the night sky, I feel peace, knowing that while I'm small, God, who created the sun, the moon, the stars, and the planets, is big. And if I look for him, I will find him. He's right there, as sure and dependable as the stars in the sky. God knew the stars would be awesome and demonstrate his greatness. That's why, when God made a promise to Abraham, he referenced the stars. He promised Abraham that his descendants would outnumber the stars in the sky. Having a family seemed unlikely and maybe just a little bit crazy, since Abraham and his wife were old and childless. And again, God referenced the stars through his son Jesus. Revelations 22:16 says, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. How is it, then, that I can so easily lose focus and fail to see the light God has provided through Jesus for me? I can think of 3 ways that I'm distracted. Number 1, other lights. Have you ever tried to see the stars in an urban area? City lights block out all the stars. Growing up near Chicago, especially if I was downtown, I can tell you that all I could see on many nights was artificial lights. I would never even know there were stars shining because of pollution, street lamps, and store lights. These fake lights are like the times when I get overwhelmed by all the things around me, and I fail to see God because I focus on the cares of the world. Luke 8:14. Number 2, clouds. Did you ever try to see stars on a cloudy night? Even now in West Texas, where the sky is big and the stars are spectacular, I cannot see stars on a cloudy night because, for the moment, they are hidden. Yet God is present all the time because he said he is and he will never leave or forsake us. Deuteronomy 31:8. Number 3, not looking. Can you see stars if you don't look up? For me, this is arrogance, or the thought that I can handle things myself. It is an illusion to think I can do things by myself. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. Proverbs 11:2. Even though there are 3 causes for my failure, there is only one answer, that God is enough. He's more than enough. Hebrews 11:1 says, Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I have never seen the face of God who created the night sky, but he exists. My vision is cloudy, and I don't see everything I want to see, but God has a purpose. I fail by not looking up, but God is willing to give me another chance if I turn back to him. But I will not find God if I don't look for him. Jesus said, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. Revelation 3:20. How to move forward. To start with, look up. See that God is there. He has always been there, even when you were not looking for him. Do something different that will turn your attention towards God. God will meet you where you're at. Set aside time to pray and read your Bible each day. Listen to Christian praise music, find a church, and attend regularly. Obey. The last thing God told you to do. Maybe it's to share his word with someone. Maybe it's to forgive someone you've held a grudge against. Maybe it's to offer a small kindness to someone in need. Abraham believed God and was looking for him. Genesis 15:5 says, "And he, God, brought him forward abroad and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be." When God called Abraham his friend, he asked him to look at the stars he created. He asked him to believe and act on the promises, even though they seemed impossible at the time. God asked Abraham to separate himself and follow God, even though he did not fully understand the way. God makes the same request of us today. Jeremiah 29:13 says, "And ye shall seek me and find me when ye search for me with all your heart." If we look for him, we will find him. He's right there, as sure and dependable as the stars in the sky.
Thanks, Jill. I like that. I love the correlation with that. I'm asking myself, God used natural things to explain supernaturally himself. And we just finished the eclipse that's gone across America. And the eclipse have always been signs in the heavens for the believer and the unbeliever. Many times the unbelieving tribes have thought different omens coming out of different things in the sky. When you look at the sky, why do you think of God?
That's a good question. It's beautiful and it's awesome, and I don't really understand it. You can explain it to me, the Milky Way, and each star is kind of like the sun and all that, but I don't really get it. I don't know if it's because I don't understand spatial relationships or whatever, but it's just bigger than me. And I like thinking that maybe God knows more than me and he can help me in ways that I can't help myself.
It seems from the bigness of God, you draw a lot of comfort, maybe security, because God is so big, yes, so expansive. Even there's a verse that talks about God holding the world in his hands.
Yes.
So how do you encourage people to translate, say, the God of history into the God of present day reality?
I think it has to do with relationship. That God has worked in history. He worked in Abraham's life. He worked in the history of the world. But can he help me today? Can he help me with what I'm working on? Can he help me with what I'm doing? It's not just me, so I could do something better, but me so that I can know him and see him in it, because then I can have faith.
So in your verses, you even described that if you seek him, you shall find him.
Yes.
So why is he ever present with us? I'm sure he's got other things to do.
Yes. And I think sometimes it's an excuse to be like, oh, God's got other things to do, so I can't bother him with prayer. But if you think about why I'm here, I'm not here because I'm so important or great or good. I'm here because God wanted to have a relationship with me. So he's wanting to show himself to me in what I do. If I'm working in the garden and I have a question, can I ask him to help me with it? Can he show me things through the physical reality of what I'm dealing with so that I can know him better, because that's why I'm here, to know him. That's why he made me.
Speaking of nature for a minute, I think of Chris in his gardening, and he chooses certain tomatoes to grow. So he gets the seeds and he grows them. Mm-hmm. And he has an expectation for those seeds because he knows what he's got. He didn't get a bunch of jumbled up seeds from nowhere and just throws them on the ground and whatever comes, it comes. So do you think God has put that intrinsically in us, that from our beginning he's planted that seed of faith in us, or that reliance upon God, that it will comfort us if we seek after him?
I think so. And I think the problem is sometimes when we want to be something other than what he's made us to be. Like if Chris planted a cherry tomato, he's not expecting aroma because he wanted a cherry tomato. And I think a lot of times we get in an argument with God because we were hoping he would make us to be something different instead of embracing that and saying and submitting to it and saying, yeah, I can be happy in what God made me to be.
Okay, one more question I have for you. When you look at that relationship, a lot of people say, I want to do my own thing. I got to do my own thing. That's kind of the 12 to 40 crust. I got to do me. I got to be me. But then the Bible talks about a disciple or a servant. Is there any merit to being a servant, or is that just something that Christians do stupidly because they don't want to make their own choices?
Are you saying, do I benefit when I'm a servant?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think so, because then I'm acting like Jesus did, because he washed the feet of his disciples. So, it's like knowing him in the going. If I am a servant, I know who Jesus is. I know that I came from a family where you prayed for guidance and you prayed for God's help, but it was almost like so God could be in your back pocket to help you do what you do better. And I think there's a total reverse to that. So I could be there for God. So I pray to align myself with him so he can help me to be a servant like he created me to be, not so that he could help me achieve more, be better, be smarter, be more accomplished. So you flip that. Does that make sense?
Sure. It does if you're a Christian, because there is no, people say, I want to be free. But you cannot be free in a prison unless in your heart that prison goes away.
Yeah.
And men a lot of times are like, I'm free. No, you're not. You're bound by everything around you. Freedom is submission. And when you submit to the Lord, who is a good Lord, the good Lord of the servant, he takes care of his every need. So, well, okay, girl, we'll go from stars to servants. But that's a good thought, and I appreciate it very much.
Hey y'all, thanks for joining us for Around the Supper Table. At Sanctuary Family Farms, we want to be real. Whether that's through our blogs, daily verses, or even Nana's recipes, we want to share the messages that God has laid on each of our hearts. If you liked what you heard today or want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Sanctuary Family Farms or our website at www.sanctuaryfamilyfarms.com, where we share our recipes and blogs and sell farm fresh beef and pork. We can't wait for you to join us again for next week's episode.